Welcome to Technicians Tuesday, everybody. Today we will be preparing the transom for fiberglass and cleaning out the rigging tubes and getting all of the Yamaha wiring out of the boat. We'll clean up the rigging and get it ready so that we can put it into another project boat that I'll introduce at the end of this video. Also, I've got great news. We've got the new fuel tank in from the welder, and after today we'll be almost ready to start the fiberglassing process. So make sure you are subscribed with that bell on, because next week we'll be installing the fuel tank and then we'll be doing some glass work when we get all of our fiberglass material in. Now, after putting some thought into this, it was just such a better idea to remove these boxes here in the back. So this is where we started. I just took the Sawzall and went down this edge along the gunnel until I got to the back of the transom. Then after looking at it, we had to take the fine tool and make it along the upper outside edge across the back here, through the transom and down around this edge so that we could take this box out. The goal was to leave as much of this top part intact for when we wrap our glass up and over the top of the transom here. There wasn't much more to the boxes, just the last little side here, and we could pull out the rigging from the box and throw that away. The side piece on the gunnel here didn't take that much to get rid of because it was only like a single layer of glass. So it didn't take that much to cut through it and pull that out. Then the other side went just as quick, and that brings us to the grinding portion of this preparation process. I gotta give a shout out to Jason Yu for commenting on another video and suggesting this Milwaukee scraper blade. This thing was pretty nice for scraping off all of the little chunks of wood left over stuck to the inside glass. It's nice to run over and scrape these chunks off because when we come back with the grinder, the wood will build up on the grinding pad and it will lose its grit and grinding ability. One thing that I've learned about using blades, scrapers, sanding, and grinding pads is that it's always best to change them out when they dull out, because of the effectiveness of that new pad just saves us so much time. Once we get all the old wood chunks scraped off, it's time for the nasty job. This is when we take some 36 grit on our grinder and we need to rough up all the glass on every single inch of this transom. We ground off this lip here and got it even with the rest of the transom because we want our structural material to lay flat against the old glass and not have any air bubbles or voids in it. Roughing up the glass is a crucial part of fiberglassing. We need our new fiberglass to get the best adherence to the old glass, and if we don't get it properly scratched and prepared, then we can get air voids and weak spots in our transom. So we'll go around and rough up the entire feel of the transom and paying close attention to make sure we don't miss any portions of it. Then we need to also go over the top of the transom because we will be wrapping the new glass up and over and down the inside of the old glass, creating one solid transom that can take the weight and the torque of the engine as well as the force of the waves. Now for our outside edge that we left around here, and actually while we are focused in on this, in hindsight, we should have left about 3 inches of lip here instead of the 2 inches that we did. But hindsight's always 20/20, right? So smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm if you haven't yet, and we'll take our grinder and get down through the gel coat, going down into the fiberglass and making our way around the outside edge of the transom. You'll want to stay away from the outside corner and the curve of the corner just to make it easier when we get to the actual laying of the glass and forming the transom. We are cutting this edge out like this because once we install our transom, we'll lay our glass in this groove so that we can keep our clean shape and level out our transom so you won't see any wavy, bumpy surfaces when the gel coat goes on. This is basically what needs to be done when it comes to the preparation portion of getting a transom ready to fiberglass. We still need to go around the inside of the edge here and get all of this roughed up just like we did everywhere else. Then all that we have left is the inside here, and we'll go across that later. I didn't have enough time to get that part done yet because it was raining all day the day that I tried to get all this done. We'll also need to get rid of this transducer here, and we'll be patching that portion up as well. And just in case anyone noticed the boat next to us, I did get all the fiberglass dust cleaned off it. I know we had a comment about blowing the dust into the surrounding boats on our second video of cutting out the transom, so don't worry, a little bit of dust won't hurt it. After getting rained out on doing the rest of the grinding, it was a good time to go ahead and get all of the rigging out of the boat and cleaned off. We'll introduce another project boat that we acquired a while ago, but haven't got the time to work on it yet later in the video. Since we'll be taking all of this rigging and installing it into another boat, it's a good idea to go ahead and clean the rigging off when taking it out of the boat, then coiling it up to keep it organized to make sure we don't lose anything and make it easier to install into the other boat. For me, I like to just take some good degreasing wipes like these gunk wipes and just wipe down each wire as we pull it out of the boat. Before pulling anything though, you want to start out by tying a string to one of the wires going through each of the rigging tubes. This way we'll have a pull string left in the tubes for when we go to install our new rigging. Once we get the string on, it's pretty basic. We'll just pull each harness out one by one, wiping it down as we go. Until we've got all the harnesses out of the boat, and we'll coil up and zip tie what we are going to reuse. I don't really save stuff like this old hard fuel hose, but the primer bulb was in good condition, so we'll go ahead and save that and use it on the other boat. We pulled out the key switch assembly and as well as the tachometer and the speedometer. But we probably won't use this old speedometer just because of how old it is. The tach though, we'll definitely be using that. We removed the oil tank from the bracket and gave it a quick wipe down, then pulled the screws out and pulled the tank bracket up and wiped it down as well. I find that it's best to put the tank and the bracket together though, so we can keep the assembly together. We probably won't be using this steering system anywhere though, just because of how old it is, but while in here I noticed one of the steering hoses was on its last leg anyway, and it was about to burst. You can see this bubble that is formed here. The inside liner has gotten a hole in it, and now the only thing keeping it from popping is the outside liner of the steering hose. Just another thing that you see happens with the age of a boat. You've probably noticed there wasn't much left of the T-top canvas by now. This boat went through Hurricane Irma on the third rack, so this is basically all that was left of it after that. So we went ahead and cut the remains of it off by just going around with some snips and cutting the string piece by piece and pulling them out and throwing them away. Then pulled the old scraps of the canvas off and got rid of that. We'll have to clean this aluminum the best we can before installing the new canvas, which is something I'm sure a lot of you will want to see. So if you haven't already, smash that like button for us and we'll go ahead and take out the control box next. As you can see, we ran out of daylight, but this here is something that you should know about these old style Yamaha 704 control boxes. These little black screws that are here holding the cover on will almost 100% of the time break off. So if you're removing one of these boxes, don't worry, it's almost impossible to remove these screws without breaking them like us. So once we've broken all 4 of the screw heads off, we'll squeeze the cover together and then pry it until it pops off, exposing the screws that hold the control box to the console. We'll take out the 4 screws and pull the box out of the helm. Something else about these boxes that you should know about is that these screws here that hold the bracket on, these are just like the cover screws, they rarely come out. So to take the control cables off of the box, we have to remove the 2 bottom screws and then just pry the cover out, leaving it still attached to the control box. So for right now, we'll just leave the cables in the control box and deal with that later on when we go to install the box in the other boat. At the end of the day, it's not uncommon to have your toolbox looking like this with broken tools, parts catalogs, and a couple boats worth of rigging laying on the counter. Now about that other boat that we keep talking about. This here is a 1985 2550 Pursuit with a cuddy cabin. This boat was originally an IO that was converted and had an engine bracket installed after the transom was beefed up. When we got this boat, the glasswork, the transom bracket, and the floor had already been done. So we just installed a bilge access port, and now we'll be coming back onto this project in another week after we get the fuel tank installed into the Ocean Master, and while we're waiting for all the fiberglass stuff to get here. On this boat, we'll basically just be painting this transom area here and then cutting out a sheet of 1/2 inch starboard to cover the back area up. We're not going to get into changing any of the glass work or doing any kind of major repairs simply because we've already got our hands full with the Ocean Master project and someone is in need of this boat. So we just want to clean it up, get all the batteries, lights, and pumps in it, and get the 300 HPDI from the Ocean Master installed and rigged up. Clean the boat up a little bit and then probably add a bimini top in the back here and fix the bimini that's already on it. This boat is most likely going to be going to a local captain named Dean here in Marathon that runs the Aqua Leisure Charters, where you can book private trips with him to go out on pleasure cruises to the sandbar, the reef, or just around the island to restaurants and whatnot, which is why he wants to have a larger area in the back of the boat to accommodate for a bigger group of people, seeing he only has a 21-footer right now. So look forward to the upcoming videos by joining the Tuesday crew and getting subscribed to the channel. You can reach us on our website at bornagainboating.com. Thanks for hanging out with us, and as always, enjoy your Tuesday night, and we'll see you next week.